Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we have a This Year in Perfume. It's been a little while since I've done one of these, and so we're going to get in our time machine. We're going to go back to the year 2004. And 2004 was a fun year for me because I was in college, and so that was a fun time. And I actually did nothing but go to college and work at Six Flags in the summer. So it was just a different life back then when you're a young kid. And back then, what was going on in the world, if you remember 2004, actually I looked up events in 2004, not many things popped up. It must have been a pretty slow year. There was the presidential election. It was George Bush and John Kerry. And of course, George Bush won. But the biggest story that I remember from 2004 was this, there was this enormous tsunami that killed something like 200,000 people in Asia, if you remember. A lot of people. You know, we think about 9/11 here in the United States, and, that was just a fraction of the 200,000 people that died in the tsunami. So, that one jumped out to me. Stuff like that. Not very much really to talk about. There's a lot of sports stuff, but as far as what was going on, I remember the presidential election being big, but me personally, I just kind of had my blinders on and I was studying for class. So going back in time to 2004, I like doing these videos if you've been kind of following my channel, following along, because it gives me an excuse, it gives me a reason to talk about a lot of different fragrances. And I'm going to talk about the fragrances that were released in the year 2004 that were in my collection, but I'm also going to talk about some that are maybe close to it, that resemble the fragrances from 2004, that if you can't get this, maybe you can go for this. If you really like this DNA, you can hunt down this other vintage fragrance. So that's the idea with these videos, just to kind of give a broad platform to talk about these different fragrances. And so let's get started with what we always do, which is scent of the day. And it's going to be 97, 98 degrees here in Texas today as a high. Very hot. It's Memorial Day weekend. Happy Memorial Day to all you folks in the United States. And so I decided to go with something that was very clean, fresh, citrusy. It is a Pierre Bourdon, and when you first spray, it actually has this Creed-like DNA to it. When you first smell it, you could be forgiven for thinking this is a Creed for sure. It's called Live Jazz. And so Live Jazz is a 1998 release. And this is one that you can just lather on. I mean, you can just go to town with the sprays. It doesn't matter. You're not going to offend anybody. It's very citrusy, very fresh, very summery. It has that summery vibe. Pierre Bourdon was all about finding a new kind of freshness. That was his thing. So he did Kouros, one of the best animalic fragrances of all time, in '81. And then for most of his career after that, he was obsessed with finding this new kind of freshness. He did it with Green Irish Tweed. He did it with Cool Water, stuff like that. You'll find that fresh DNA come up over and over again. He did it with some of the Ghost perfume creations he made for Creed later on. And he did it with Live Jazz. And the thing about Live Jazz is it's a little hard to come by now. This is a 50 ml bottle, okay? And so this is a 50 ml bottle that I got from Anuj at Enchante Perfumes. And basically what this does is it starts off very lemony, very grapefruity, but bitter. So it hits you with this bitter lemon, unsweetened, which I like, with mint. And that mint note, sometimes people hear mint and they go, nope, I'm out, because mint sometimes reminds people of toothpaste. Here, it's done very well. It's not overkill where you get that toothpaste vibe. It's mixed with the bitter citruses. Grapefruit can sometimes naturally be bitter, so they have the bitter lemon, the bitter grapefruit, the mint, right? Very fresh, uplifting opening. And then it mixes with a couple unique notes. One is rhubarb leaf, which rhubarb, in my opinion, is underused in perfumery anyways, but they've done rhubarb leaf with reeds, coriander, and then a base of amber, vanilla, and cedar. Simple fragrance. The amber, vanilla, and cedar is, it comes out more as the hours dry down, obviously, as you get to the base, but it's perfect for warm weather. This is a perfect summer fragrance. If you like fragrances like Cartier's Roadster, or if you like Frederic Mall's Geranium Pour Monsieur, both of those have a mint note to it. Put Live Jazz on the to sniff list if you can find a bottle. Now, this is discontinued, and this will be featured in one of my Ramsey's Ramblings on Discontinued Perfumes one day. I haven't gotten to it yet. I've been kind of going in batches, and so I haven't gotten to YSL yet. But I'll tell you what, just if you're a fan of that fresh DNA, which to be honest, I'm not. But when it's summer like this, when we're going to be around a lot of people, I don't want to wear my Bortnikovs or Amouages. I mean, I do want to wear those, but just out of respect for people, if you want to be, I guess, season specific, this is a good one because it's unique. It's been discontinued for a while. It used to be a cheapie. A decade ago, you could find these for $30 online. You know, it was like it was a all over discounters thing. No one wanted them. And now, of course, that all the news has come out about Pierre Bourdon being the ghost perfumer of Creed, people really starting to hunt down his perfumes and appreciate his genius, prices have skyrocketed. But this is one you don't want to pay big money for. If you can get a decent price, because you're just going to throw it on in the summer, you just saw I did 4 sprays and it doesn't matter. You know, you could do 10, 15 sprays of this. You won't offend people. So it's one you're really going to use. Don't pay huge money for it, but if you find a deal and you're a fan of that fresh Pierre Bourdon DNA, Live Jazz is one that no one really talks about. It's just, it's like it was there, it went away, people just kind of shrug and they go, they don't really care kind of thing, you know? But it deserves more talk. It deserves more conversation. It deserves to have at least a little bit of spotlight. So these kind of fresh, citrusy fragrances are not everyone's favorite, especially the real connoisseurs who like perfume. They like heavier, more detailed stuff. But for a warm summer day, you're going to be around a lot of people. Live Jazz is beautiful. It really is. Okay, so let's get into the 2004 year. And I'm going to show you a couple decants first. One actually came from Anuj at Enchante. He sent me some samples during my last order. And this is one that I never had a chance to smell or break into. So he sent me a decant because I asked for it. And this is a popular designer fragrance. You guys will probably be surprised. I've never smelled this. I've actually never had a chance to give it a full wear yet. But I will. I'll do a first impression soon. I like to wear my fragrances as my scent of the day when I break it down, because it really allows me to understand it more than just spraying it on, you know, one piece of my body or on a tester strip and then also wearing something else. So I make these my scent of the day. But this is Armani Code. Kind of smudged off there, but this is Armani Code. And it came out in 2004. Antoine Maisondieu and Antoine Lee, the two Antoines, are the perfumers, and it's bergamot lemon with olive blossom and star anise. So that olive blossom note is unique. And then you get the designer leather, tobacco, tonka, gaiac wood, that, you know, designer sweet, little bit spicy base. But the olive blossom sets Armani Code apart. So I will break this down. I'll do an early impression for you guys one day. But I don't have a full bottle of this, but it's worth a mention. It's probably one of the most popular perfumes from 2004. The only other one that Parfumo says is more popular than Armani Code is Chanel's Allure Homme Sport, which I don't own. I only own a decant of the Eau Extreme, which I'm kind of, you know. But Chanel's Allure Homme Sport is the most popular fragrance from 2004, according to Parfumo. Then Armani Code. Then, after Armani Code, you get this. The next most popular one is Bois d'Argent. Now, this is a 2018 batch, so this was the first year that Demachy reformulated Bois d'Argent, because it was originally an Annick Monardo perfume, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this video today is I wore this as my scent of the night last night. Well, I don't really have a scent of the night, but I wore it to bed, before bed. I got to enjoy it for a couple hours, and it's this woody, powdery, beautiful Florentine Iris Absolute here. So this came out 1 year before Dior Homme, and you can really see the foundation of Dior Homme in this perfume, because the Florentine Iris Absolute is probably what gave Heidi Slimane the idea of using the iris in the way he did with Dior Homme. That's just my opinion. But the interesting thing about Bois d'Argent to me is there's a couple heavy notes in here. You get Yemenite frankincense, very specific. You get Somalian myrrh. You get Indonesian patchouli, Florentine Iris Absolute, honey, leather, some sort of generic woody notes, which they don't really list, and then amber and white musk. So you would read that and you would think, wow, that's going to be a beast, you know, with the frankincense, myrrh, patchouli, honey. It wears very, maybe not transparent, ethereal. It somehow plays the trick of having all these heavy notes, but not weighing you down. You know what I mean? Like it still wears a little bit, not necessarily light either, because light or transparent are not the correct words for it. It doesn't have that heavy vibe that you would expect from a perfume with, you know, big iris, big myrrh, big frankincense. Maybe the older one did, but the 2018 reformulated Francois Demachy version wears much more light, and maybe they were changing things up based on the requests of the clientele. I don't know, the taste of the public. But even though it doesn't wear really heavy, it wears light, it's a beautiful iris. You can smell the iris, the frankincense, it's gorgeous. And so Bois d'Argent, you know, I will be talking more about this. And the reason I got the 2018 reformulation is I got such a steal from this from Lee from Fragnanimous. I've talked about him a couple times on my channel now. But fragnanimous.com, check his website out. He's a official licensed seller of brands like Arise Ladore and Bortnikov, and the one from Canada, I can never remember his name, Meleg, Matthew Meleg, I believe it is. Those kind of indie brands. But he also does decants, and he also does partial bottles. So he'll have like 90-95% full bottles that you can get steals on, and he's a great guy. He's honest, trustworthy, all that stuff that I look for in a, you know, business partner to work with like that. So that's Bois d'Argent. Next is a little decant. Now I've got two of these. Rich Mitch sent me two of these from across the pond, and I wore one, and this is my backup decant. This is Eau Noire from 2004. And Eau Noire is a Francis Kurkdjian creation, maybe Francis Kurkdjian's best work even. It has this spicy, gourmand, food-like element to it, because there's white thyme and clary sage, with lavender, Virginia cedar, vanilla, some sort of green stem note is what's listed. Green stems, which I'm not sure which green stems, but green stems. And licorice. Now, the perfume is not green from the green stems. It's green because lavender is green. Most people don't realize that, but lavender is green. Like, I'll give you an example. One of the most popular lavender perfumes of all time is Caron's Pour un Homme. Look at the color. That's from the lavender. It's lavender, vanilla, and I think some sort of musk. And that's pretty much it. So the greenness in Eau Noire is from the lavender. Now, I did an early impression on it. You can find it on my channel. I said that I did enjoy it, but this perfume has a problem for me personally. Maybe not for you. It depends on where you went in your journey. For me, I ended up getting a full bottle of Sunshine Man, and I've talked about this before, but if you've never heard me talk about the Eau Noire Sunshine Man connection, I wanted to bring it up again because Sunshine Man basically does what Eau Noire does for me, but even better. And it brings in this, oh God, it brings in this immortelle note, and the immortelle note just, you know, takes it to another level. I like this more. This is more me. I enjoy this much more. Eau Noire gets brownie points for being the first to make a perfume with this DNA, but Amouage took it and just perfected it to me. So that's why Eau Noire is not full bottle worthy. I mean, I would love a bottle. If I had it, I would wear it, but I wouldn't pay what Dior is asking for a bottle of Eau Noire when I have something even better for me. I don't rate fragrances, but if I did, this would be a 10 out of 10. It's fantastic, and it made my top 100, all that good stuff. So check out Sunshine Man if you like Eau Noire. I think it's Eau Noire perfected, but again, that's just me. But you have to like that Amouage style. You know, Christopher Chong, when he was running Amouage, he had a very specific style about it. In the sense that he was willing to take risks. He was willing to do things outside of the box. So he took that lavender from Eau Noire and he mixed it with the Immortelle, and he added this orange brandy note. And the orange brandy note is such a stroke of genius. So he kept the things like I mentioned Eau Noire has clary sage. He kept the clary sage, but he just kind of went in his own direction, you know, and it's absolutely beautiful. He kept the vanilla, kept the clary sage, but he went in his own direction, added some juniper to freshen it up, and it's fantastic. So for me, that's a no-brainer. I would go with Sunshine Man all day, every day over Eau Noire, but that's just my personal taste. But again, that's why I like doing these videos, because it gives me a reason to talk about some of this stuff, which, you know, if you've heard it before, you might be rolling your eyes, but for those of you that haven't heard it, you know, Sunshine Man came out 11 years later, so it came out a decade after Eau Noire. So Eau Noire gets props. It's a good perfume, and rumor is that it's one of the 3 or 4 Dior Privés that Francis Kirkjohn, now that he is in-house perfumer at Dior, is going to reformulate and bring back. And apparently they asked to take the coloring out of Eau Noire. They asked it to be like crystal clear, kind of like what Roja Dove does with his Oud collection. And the reason I say that is because Roja spells it A-O-U-D. He's one of the only ones that does that. Usually it's just oud, but he spells it Aoud. So, you know, that's why I say Roja's oud that way. But basically, people didn't like the green juice. They thought that maybe removing the coloring would help sales a bit. I don't know. I like the green juice. I think it naturally adds color to the perfume, kind of like the lavender and Caron's Pour un Homme. But if people don't realize lavender is green, they might be a little put off by that. So I understand. And then the last decant I want to talk to you guys about is this little beauty. Do you know what this is? This is Thierry Mugler's B Men. So B Men came out in 2004. It was a Jacques Huclier, which made all of the Amen, and Christine Nagel collaboration. And what they basically did is they took very interesting notes. This is a good fragrance, but again, it has a slight problem. I'll tell you in a minute. But they took some rhubarb, which again is underused in perfumery. They took fruits and spices, and they mixed it with vetiver, amber, and this sequoia wood. Sequoia wood is very underused, but basically it gives this spicy, woody, this soft spicy. Think soft spicy. The fragrances that come to mind, you know, at least that play in the same soft, spicy ballpark for me, are things like Opium pour Homme by YSL, and this is the closest one to me, and that is Yohji Yamamoto Homme. And Yohji Yamamoto Homme has a couple iterations. I've also talked about this fragrance before. And Yohji Homme, you have to make sure that you get the correct version. The problem with Yohji Homme, I'm just going to look up the notes so I can go through it with you, is that it was discontinued and reformulated many a times. So when you get Yohji Homme, you want to make sure you get the 1999 version. And there's basically two distributors that you could look for. Number one is Jean Patou. So it actually says Jean Patou on the bottom. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. But right there it says Jean Patou Inc. And then this is when Jean Patou actually owned the licenses for Yohji Homme. And this is what makes this so superior to B Men to me, is that the great Jean Carleo, I think, had a little bit of a hand in this before he retired. Now, all the credit's given to Jean-Michel Duriez, but it has some of the little intricacies, some of the details, some of the brilliant strokes that you get in old Patou fragrances. And what they did is they basically took anise, bergamot, coriander, lavender, carnation, geranium, rosewood, cinnamon with coffee, leather, rum, sandalwood, tonka, and cedar. Now, the Japanese like their perfumes very soft, right? So all of these heavy notes again, coffee, leather, rum, tonka, sandalwood, cinnamon. You would think it wears very heavy. It doesn't. It wears it kind of does the same trick that Bois d'Argent does. But I think I even like this more than Bois d'Argent. What happened is Jean Patou was purchased by Procter & Gamble. So this is the second bottle that I have. I have a 100 ml and I have a 50 ml. The 50 ml I got from Anouge. The 100 ml I got from a private seller a long time ago. And it has this little piece right here that's supposed to stop it from spraying. You open it up like this, spray it, put it back, instead of having a cap. If yours has a black cap, it's the wrong version. Or if you see one out there with the black cap, that's the reformulated one that you don't want. They did a terrible job with the reformulation. Procter & Gamble came in and they did a reformulation. If you can find the one with the short ingredient list, like this one is a short ingredient list demonstration tester. It just basically says alcohol, water, and parfum, fragrance. That's it. If you can find that one, you know you're getting the 1999 version. Either one. The distributor on this one doesn't matter. They're both fantastic, whether it's Jean Patou or whether it is Procter & Gamble. I think they just bought Jean Patou when this switched over, and so they didn't fumble around with reformulations. They just continued to make it the same. But then when they discontinued it, they did an entire reformulation on it and tried to put it back out, and it's nowhere near. It is literally a shell of its former self. Yes, it is. That's what I would say. I would say if you can't get the 1999 version, don't bother. That's my opinion. If that offends you, sorry for you. But my opinion is if you're going to hunt Yohji Homme, get the 1999 version. Otherwise, just forget about it. But it plays in the same sandbox as B Men. B Men is also a very good perfume. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just when I wear B Men, Yohji Homme came first. B Men came 5 years later in 2004. And so I'm just constantly reminded of Yohji Homme. I feel like they, really used it as a platform, as a springboard, and then they tried to add that Amen DNA to it, which is nice. It is. It's a beautiful designer. This is what designers used to be 18 years ago. And so it is a good perfume, but I'm saying if you're someone like me who is a, you're an enthusiast and you want to smell the best version of something, you know, go check out Homme if you're a fan of B Men. That's my opinion. Okay, next, I'm going to cheat a little bit here. So I'm going to cheat because in 2004, Guerlain released L'Instant de Guerlain Pour Homme Eau de Toilette. I don't have the Eau de Toilette. I have the Eau Extreme, the L'Instant de Guerlain Eau Extreme, which came out in 2005. But I want to give the Guerlain credit where credit is due. I also have, I'll bring out the black rimmed version for the 2005 video, but I'm going to show this one in place of the Eau de Toilette because it deserves the love. It was Beatrice Piquet is a woman who created one of my favorite leather fragrances from the 1980s. She created a fragrance called, what was it called? Troussard d'Uomo. She created Troussard d'Uomo in 1983, and then she created this little gem, L'Instant de Guerlain Pour Homme, and she created the Eau Extreme in 2005, and this is one of the best patchouli fragrances of all time for me. And remember, this was competing with Dior Homme at the time. So Dior Homme was the big iris, this was the big patchouli with cacao. But what they did with the Eau de Toilette, which again, this one's not, I'm just using it as a representation. It looks very similar to the Eau de Toilette version, but on the bottom, mine says Eau Extreme, which the Eau de Toilette obviously wouldn't say that. But what they did with the Eau de Toilette, because I have smelled it, is they amped the citruses up. So this is one of those situations where normally I like Guerlains in Eau de Toilette. I feel like they breathe a little bit more. They have a little bit more room to work, but not here. Here I want lidge. I want the Eau Extreme. The citruses in lidge are toned down, and the patchouli, cacao, the base notes are amped up in lidge. But the Eau de Toilette is still beautiful. It's much more versatile. The lemon is more, the bergamot's more, the grapefruit's more, that kind of thing. But it deserves a shout out, so I'm cheating a little bit. The bottle looks just like this when it originally came out. The only difference is it doesn't say Eau de Parfum right there. And it doesn't say Eau Extreme on the bottom, obviously. But you can still find these old bottles for pretty cheap if you're a fan of collecting older bottles. But Guerlain's one of those houses where you don't want to go pay big money. Don't go pay $500 for a vintage bottle of L'Instant de Guerlain Eau Extreme. Just go buy the current Eau de Parfum of L'Instant de Guerlain. It's very good. And Rich Mitch and I agree on a lot of things. And if you've watched his channel, he's recently done full wearings and talked about the current version of L'Instant de Guerlain in the Listerine bottle. And he said it's amazing. So now the new one that comes in the L'Homme Ideal bottles, the square bottles, I've never smelled. I don't think he has either. But the Listerine bottles, at least, which are still floating around for very cheap, I'm sure, are very good very good versions. Eugene says he even prefers the Listerine bottle over the older presentation bottle. So don't pay big money for the old stuff on that one. There's some stuff where I will tell you you need to do that. That's one where you can save some money, put it aside in your war chest for something more rare. All right, so let's go to the house of Bogart. Now, if you're a fan of Maurice Roussel, I hope your ears just perked up. If you're a fan of Maurice Roussel, this is Bogart Pour Homme. Now, this is a cheapie. This Bogart Pour Homme can be had for $20. 2004, of course, is the release date. And what this is this is bergamot, lavender, water lily with floral notes, spices, patchouli, tonka, and vanilla. And this is Bogart's attempt to bring in this sweeter, fruitier, tobacco-ish vibe. That tonka bean in the base will remind you of, maybe there is even a little bit of a hidden tobacco note. It's not listed in the note breakdown, but if you like fragrances, I'm going to stand up because I'm going to grab something really quick. if you like fragrances like this, all right, if you like fragrances like Thierry Mugler's Amen, Pure Havane, which is getting harder and harder and harder to find nowadays. Oh, fantastic. This is one of my guilty pleasure fragrances, my sweet guilty pleasure fragrances I absolutely adore. And I will tell you what I always tell you. If you can find the version that says Thierry Mugler right there, not just Mugler, L'Oreal rebranded it to Mugler and they dropped the Thierry. And with that rebranding came reformulations. If you can find the Thierry Mugler version and not pay an arm and a leg, get it. Get it over the Mugler, even if you have to pay a little bit more. Trust me. They have turned it into a shell of their former selves. Yes, they have. Especially with the original Amen. It's a joke. So that's my recommendation. But if you like that DNA, if you're a fan of this, try this. Yes, it's cheap. It's a cheapie. Bogart's a cheap house. But what they can do with a cheap ingredient list, what they can do with a $15, $20 fragrance is amazing. I have no clue how they make money. You know, it boggles the mind that they can make money on $20 perfumes with this quality. It's something I enjoy wearing. In the in the colder weather, this is fantastic. I mean, you know, if you're on a budget and you won't drop $200 for this, wear this. It's in the same ballpark. You'll get the same satisfaction. Shockingly, you will. And it's a Maurice Roussel, so you know it's good. Okay, so that is Bogart Pour Homme. Now, next, I want to talk about a Comme de Garçon. Probably my favorite Comme de Garçon perfume I've ever come across. And I'll tell you why in just a second. But it's this is a Mark Buxton from 2004. And it's Comme de Garçon 2 Man. Now, Puig, Antonio Puig owns Comme de Garçon. So this is a 50 ml that I got from Anuj at Enchanté Perfumes. Again, he's helped fortify my collection substantially over the years. And what this does is this takes this dark woods. So think about a spicy dark wood perfume with mahogany woods, which is rarely, again, underused. So mahogany woods with frankincense. So you get smoky woody and then smoky notes on top of the frankincense. So, you know, frankincense sometimes has that dry pine-like feel, but it doesn't give you like pure on in-your-face smoke. This one does. This gives you that in-your-face smoke, saffron blossom, nutmeg, kumquat, curly mint, vetiver, mahogany woods, and leather. So, if you're a fan of really woody perfumes, like I'll give you a quick, I'm going to give you a quick example here. Actually, I need to find a fragrance I forgot to grab, but I will look for that in just a second. But let me give you an example. If you like fragrances like this, Gucci Pour Homme 1, these two are kissing cousins. You know, this uses more cedar and incense. This uses more mahogany woods and incense with smoke. So you get the frankincense and you get the smoky aspect of it. It's like you get both. You get the lemony, piney frankincense underneath with the smoky notes. Very unique. You know, if you're a signature scent kind of guy, this is very unique. People will definitely recognize you're around if you wear Comme de Garçon 2 Man. But I think this is more of a fall-winter fragrance because it's so smoky, woody. But, again, if you're a fan of Gucci Pour Homme 1 from 2003, Comme de Garçon 2 Man followed it up and then did something a little bit different with the mahogany woods. So this is only 1 year earlier, so you can tell Mark Buxton had Gucci Pour Homme 1 in mind, in my opinion. Let me see if I can find, 1 second. There was a perfume I wanted to talk about that I forgot to grab, and I feel like an idiot now because I'm not 100% sure where it is. So one moment, we're going to have an intermission while Ramsey searches. Aha! Okay, so there's one more from 2004 that I forgot to grab. It just hit me. Because we were talking about incense. And this is probably the best realistic incense fragrance. So the incense has a problem in perfume in that the problem is that the longer the incense fragrance lasts, so the more the perfumer puts materials that extend the life of the fragrance, the less it smells like natural incense. So they have to do this balancing act. This says, forget the balancing act, go 100% natural smelling incense, but it lasts 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes, an hour kind of thing. Now, this is an older bottle, so my bottle lasts 2-3 hours, let's say. The new bottles literally last 30 minutes, unfortunately. But if you just want a realistic, smoky, spicy, vetiver, pepper, frankincense with maybe a little bit of labdanum in the base, this is it. This is Armani Bois d'Encens. And this is the only Armani Privé that I own. And it is this peppery incense. I mean, it literally smells like walking into a Catholic church. Lemony incense. Fantastic. But, again, it has a longevity problem. So if you don't mind, mine is a 2000 and I want to say 16 batch. I think it's a 2016 batch. But don't hold me to it. So it is a little older. It's 6 years old. But it's a Michel Almerac creation, and it was the very first Armani Privé, and basically Armani wanted this incense, this natural incense, so every time Michel Almerac decided to try to add more bits and pieces to it to extend the life, Armani shot it down. Giorgio said, nope, I want the first one. And so they ended up with Bois d'Encens, which is a fantastic incense for just what it is. But it doesn't last, so you have to spray and spray and spray, which if you don't care, you've got a 100 ml bottle and you have a collection like mine and you wear this twice a year, go ahead, spray away. But these are expensive, unfortunately. But if you're an incense lover, this is a must sniff. Eugene says there's a beautiful labdanum that comes out late in the game. I'm still searching for that, but mostly it's beautiful frankincense. Okay, next we're going to go to a fragrance that I've never talked about on my channel because I'm not the biggest fan. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this. This is one of those trio perfume houses, or perfumer fragrances. Anytime there's 3 perfumers working on it, I feel like there's like too many, cooks in the kitchen. It's Carlos Benaim, who I love and appreciate, Laurent Laguernec, and Emilio Valeros. And the fragrance is a Loewe, and it's called Solo. Now, this is the older style bottle. They have since reformulated the Solo, and they put it in a bottle that looks like this. This is what Loewe's just standard bottles look like, which I actually like the bottle. It's very similar to Guerlain's Listerine bottles. It's very similar to Guerlain's Listerine bottles. And they've got this wood cap with this nice little engraving. I don't know if you can see it. There's a nice little engraving there. And And so this is kind of their standard bottles. This is the older style bottle. I don't know if it matters, really, because there's very little in this fragrance that needs to be reformulated, I would think. This is another perfume that I'll talk about one day. 001 Man, fantastic. If you're an iris lover, this has this carrot seed iris. Beautiful. Probably my favorite from the house, actually. This one, I'm a little lukewarm on because this came out in 2004, obviously. They did the, and LVMH owns Loewe just like Guerlain, so it makes sense that they are, you know, going to a streamlined bottle approach. The attention to detail is there, just like, you know, with the Guerlain B, you get the Loewe, I have no clue what that is, but you get the Loewe pattern. It looks like, you know, two butterflies. I don't know what it is, to be honest with you. But basically what this is a lavender, thyme, cashmere, patchouli, bergamot, lemon, mandarin orange, cumin, nutmeg, cinnamon. The twist is there's a note of guava. And guava is a fruit that is very big in Spanish countries. Loewe is a Spanish house. So I think they're trying to appeal to, you know, South American, Spanish markets, if you will, or their home market of Spain or Portugal, whatever it is. But it's very weird for me. The guava note makes it very weird. It's supposed to be this spicy, fresh fragrance that you can wear, you know, any time kind of thing, but probably more towards fresh summer, fruity kind of experience. For me, again, going to another perfume that I would probably prefer to wear over Loewe Solo, there's an Annick Monardo fragrance called Zerius Rouge, which came out in the 90s, that has this, again, it's a weird fragrance, but it has that same fresh DNA, but instead of guava, in Zerius Rouge, Annick Monardo used this cactus note. And this came out in 1995. She used cactus and kumquat combined with pepper, red pepper, and cedarwood. And so as far as uniqueness goes and weirdness, even though guava smells nothing like cactus and kumquat, they both have that same strange DNA creation, and I would rather wear Zerius Rouge. But if you're a fan of that fruity freshness, or if you want to wear something that's off the beaten path, Solo is, it's one to check out, and it's not expensive. I think I got this bottle for 40 bucks or something for 50 ml. I have no desire to wear it, but I will wear it for you guys and talk about it more one day. Okay, next we're going to go to the original John Varvatos from 2004, and I actually really like this perfume. It's called John Varvatos, just the original. This is a 125 ml bottle. When John Varvatos went through their bankruptcy a year ago, or whatever it was, 18 months ago, I scooped this up for super cheap. I think I got this for like $18 or 20 bucks or something for 120 ml. Now the prices have gone up again. But basically this is a Rodrigo Flores Roux creation. He made all of the John Varvatos perfumes up until a point, and then when Varvatos went through their bankruptcy or whatever it was, he stopped making them and other perfumers came in. So even though he wasn't the in-house perfumer, if you buy old John Varvatos perfumes, you know, vintage, John Varvatos vintage, or the original, or Rebel, Dark Rebel, or Dark Rebel Rider, he did all that. And so this is an interesting fragrance. On the back it says elements: tamarind tree leaves, sage flower, Mediterranean herbs, aura amber, vanilla, and black leather essence. So there is this black leather pouch that runs all across the fragrance. And it's a nice little presentation for a cheapie. I like this fragrance. I really enjoy this. In fact, I think I like this even more than vintage, which everyone goes crazy for vintage. I like this more. This has this dates, which, you know, I was born in Jordan, so I have lots of exposure to things like dates, those kind of, you know, zeytin za'atar, dates, stuff like that. There's herbs, tamarind leaf, ajowan, coriander seed, clary sage, amber, balsam. There's balsams. There's even a note of oud in the base, which oud, black leather, and vanilla. So the oud was a new thing that really started to kick off with M7 a couple years earlier. M7 was the YSL fragrance that was the first designer oud fragrance, right? And then this is 2 years later. So Rodrigo Flores Roux uses oud in the base. So this doesn't smell like an oud perfume, because oud is not the star of the show. Oud is to add some backbone to it. But for 2004, what a revolutionary fragrance this was. Now, John Varvatos gets a lot of flack because this doesn't last but 4 or 5 hours, which is fine, especially when they give you a 125 ml bottle. You just reapply over and over again if you want. But for the 4 or 5 hours, it smells divine. It's fantastic. And I would love to see what Rodrigo Flores Roux could do with a big budget. I mean, I know him and Roja Dove did Fougère Royale, the remake in 2010. But for him, I mean, he has done such a good job on a budget. He's kind of like Nathalie Lorson in that the fact he's done such a good job on a budget for John Varvatos that I would love to see what he could do with, you know, a real budget, a $300 fragrance, you know, something like that. All right, speaking of $300 fragrances, let's go to Creed. In 2004, Creed released this, which is Original Vetiver. This is one of my favorite clean vetiver fragrances, if you will. There's not a ton of vetiver in here. Creed claims they use all parts of the vetiver plant. So they claim they use the grass itself, which no one does. No one uses the grass of the vetiver in a vetiver perfume. It's always the root, okay? The root is what's actually used in the perfume, not the grass. But they claim they use the root and the grass, which who knows if the grass even does anything. It sounds more like a sales pitch, if you will. You know, look at us. We're the only ones that use all of the vetiver, even the grass, which no one does. But Original Vetiver, 2004, the perfumer is unknown. People speculate that it's the same perfumer as the guy who did Mugler Cologne, which Mugler Cologne was done by Alberto Mordias, I believe. So Mugler Cologne came out in 2001. Alberto Mordias did it. And then in 2004, Creed releases this. And they are very similar. But Creed has that house ambergris note that, you know, a little bit of ambergris, ambroxan, whatever you want to call it. It smells very convincing, and I love it. So whether it's real ambergris or not, all I know is I stopped buying Creed in 2017 when they switched to the 50 and 100 ml bottles. This is a 75 ml. This is a 2016. So this is the last year that they actually did 75 and 125 ml bottles. The batch code is CM4016J01. So that 16 represents 2016. So 16J01. And basically you get this beautiful, bright, uplifting citrus here. Bergamot, bitter orange, mandarin orange, and vetiver leaf is what they're calling it, with white pepper, coriander, and pink pepper, and then a base of ambergris, sandalwood, musk, and vetiver. And you get this musky vetiver dry down, very pleasant for warm weather. My favorite vetiver perfumes to wear in the heat are this and this, these two. Guerlain's Vetiver and Creed's Original Vetiver. These two are my favorite warm weather vetiver fragrances. So that's my opinion. The Encre Noire, stuff like that. I usually wear them when it gets a little bit colder, but I will still wear an Encre Noire on a rainy day or something like that. Rouge's Vetiver, you could also throw in there. You could throw Rouge's Vetiver in. You can wear that anytime. The citrus seems to last forever in Rouge's Vetiver. Honestly, I think I even like Creed's original Vetiver more than Rouge's Vetiver. Rouge's Vetiver, even the Parfum version that I have, the expensive one, is a disappointment. I'm not impressed with that at all. And if you watch videos of him, he always says things like, oh, if I could be remembered for one thing, I want it to be my Vetiver. No, if he could be remembered for one thing, it should be Diaghilev or Great Britain. That's my opinion. Okay, next we're going to go to a niche house that they put out their first fragrance in 2004. And it was done by Giza Schoen, and it's called Ormonde Jayne Ormonde Man. Now, Ormonde Man are made in England, so she's an English producer. And the claim to fame with Ormonde Man, it comes in this little box like this. You open it up, and you get this little booklet, and Ormonde Man is another one of those niche fragrances that is just nice. It's pleasant, it's nice, it's designer niche. It's not like the Amouages that were taking risks and doing things crazy. This is, here, I'll read you the blurb. Ormonde for Men, a fragrance most sophisticated despite its unconventional ingredients. Complex and full of character, sultry and mystical. The fragrance exudes soft woody notes, but it is the infusion of oud oil, the world's most prized essence since time immemorial, that sets it apart, elevating the scent to one of true distinction. This enigmatic creation epitomizes the audacious innovation of Ormonde Jayne's first perfume for men. It's so sensual, you may just have to surrender yourself. Top note, juniper berry, bergamot, pink pepper, cardamom, and coriander seeds. Heart of oud and black hemlock. Now, black hemlock is a poison. You know, in the old days, they would use it to poison people. And that's one of the claim to fames here, is that it has oud. Who knows if it's real or not, or if it's synthetic or what, they don't say. If they say it's real, it's real. Believe the brands. They won't say it's real when it's not. And a base of vetiver, cedar, sandalwood, and musk. So this is one that could easily be a work scent. It's got this spicy, woody thing going on, is basically what it is. Spices from the pink pepper and cardamom and coriander seeds, woody from the cedar, sandalwood, and then of course there's that little bit of oud, but I don't think anyone would smell this and say it's an oud fragrance. It is something where the oud is there as kind of an ancillary note, a secondary note. You would probably even have a hard time picking it out. They put it there probably to say that there's oud in it. But some people even say Ormonde Woman is even better, which I've never smelled. I would like to one day. But that's Ormonde Jayne Man. And then the final two. We're going to move on to a true unicorn. This is Ascada Magnetism for men. Now, magnetism, I don't know if you can see, but my juice is like right there. I bought a partial because I don't need full bottles. I want to wear the fragrance and break it down for you guys. And if that means buying a partial bottle and getting a good deal on it, you know, I paid like $100 for this partial, and that's probably 30 mils worth of juice. That's perfect for me. I don't have to pay $450 for a full bottle. I can save that money, put it in the war chest, and spend it on something else. But this is a designer leather. So it's a Michel Almarac again, who I've come to really respect after smelling all his fragrances. So it's a leather, amber, musk, pepper, pepper tree, saffron, sandalwood, tolu balsam, vanilla, and cedar. It opens with this very cola-like vibe. Okay, so you get this cola opening, similar to M7. M7 came out a couple years ago, before this, 2002. This is 2004. So that cola M7 opening is there. And then it goes into this designer balsam. It's a little sweet, but not so sweet that I can't stand it. For some reason, the sweetness over the last 20 years, since this was released, 18 years, let's say since the turn of the century, has really changed as the years went on. So if you go to like sweet fragrances from the 80s and 90s, even the early 2000s, I can stand the sweetness there. It's a different molecule of sweetness than what perfumers are doing nowadays. That bubblegum, praline, that kind of sweetness, I can't take. I don't think men should smell like that. That's just my opinion. I can't take that. Some people love it. That Invictus bubblegum thing is right out for me. But here, there is some sweetness from the vanilla and stuff like that, but it's done in a way where it's manageable for me, especially on a cold day. This is beautiful. And, you know, if you like designer fragrances like Midnight in Paris, those kind of hard to find discontinued gems, this is right there with it. Beautiful perfume. Fantastic. Love it in the winter. Love it anytime, actually. It's one of those where if you don't care about seasons, that's just a beautiful fragrance. And then finally, we're going to end with a Bertrand Duchaufour. This is Timbuktu. Now, this is what the old bottles of Timbuktu look like, okay? And then they were purchased, L'Artisan Parfumeur was purchased by Antonio Puig, and they changed the bottles to look like this, okay? This is what the new bottles of Timbuktu look like. And basically, I have them both. As you can see, I have a new bottle of Timbuktu, which might shock some people. There are differences. One day I will do a comparison video for you guys. This is a little less sweet, a little bit more intricacies of the details can be picked up on here a little bit more, but this was never a beast. This lasted 6 to 7 hours on my skin anyways. This lasts about 6 to 7 hours on my skin. So the reformulation hasn't really affected the longevity as much as it's affected the little details that Bertrand Duchaufour put in there. So if you just compared them side by side, I think most people who aren't crazy fragrance fanatics like we are would say, that's fine. It doesn't matter. It's Timbuktu. You can tell it's Timbuktu. They kept the essence of it. You know, this is a fragrance that uses, like most of Bertrand Duchaufour's creations, amazing notes in certain places, unique, ingenious in a way. This is cardamom, pink pepper, and green mango, and that green mango at the top. So it's green mango in the top, frankincense, papyrus, Keru Karunda. Keru Karunda is like a African flower that's used in rituals over there. Again, green mango, Keru Karunda, and then it's a vetiver base with benzoin and myrrh and patchouli. And that vetiver base, I would call this a vetiver fragrance, but it's got the green mango, frankincense, papyrus, pink pepper. It's got all these other moving parts to it, and that's what makes it so unique. And so if you can find an older bottle of Timbuktu, these are obviously preferred, okay? Obviously, this is what you want. If you can't, or if you don't want to pay the markup, there's absolutely nothing wrong with going with this one. It keeps Timbuktu. It just loses some of the little details that made it just completely amazing, you know. The little details that you smell and just go, wow, Bertrand Duchaufour, man. Some of the things that he does are out of this world. I mean, you know, the peony that he used in Dia Man, the lychee that he used in Zonka, stuff like that. The, you know, blackberry and Jubilation 25, just some of the little details that he puts in there are just amazing. And it's like that here too, you know, but with the vintage, you get a little bit more. You just get, you know, it's a little more 3D, a little more in your face, but this is still good. I will still wear this. But I'll do a full comparison video for you guys, where one hand I'll wear the modern stuff, the other hand I'll wear the vintage, and I'll do a side-by-side video for you guys and compare. So that's basically the perfumes in my collection from 2004. I appreciate everyone watching, guys. Thanks for the support. A like, a subscription, a comment always helps the channel, but I'm not going to ask for it. It you know, it's one of those things that if you get value out of this, if you enjoy listening to me talk about perfume, it does help. But the reason that I'm asking for it is not that I want the you know, channel to blow up and I want to become Jeremy Fragrance. I don't. I want people who are into the hobby the way we are, who are in our little tribe, in our little circle, to find me. That's what I want. I want them to organically find me when they're looking. You know, they're looking up Timbuktu and bam, I pop up and they find me that way. That's the reason why I say likes and subscriptions help, because I want it to further the community. I want to further this thing that we're building here, where we can share ideas with each other, learn about other perfumes, talk about perfume, that kind of thing. You know, this is a no hype channel. I'm not going to, brands aren't sending me stuff. Roja's not sending me stuff to, you know, show off, to be an advertisement. If I show off a bottle, you know I paid for it with my own money, except for the one Heinke sent me. But that's just out of the kindness of another individual's heart on that's, you know, part of our little community. So other than that, you know that I've purchased these with my own money, which means I cared about them enough to buy them, talk about them, you know, and most of these were purchased long before I had a channel. You know, these, even if I didn't have a channel, I would still be doing what I'm doing today as far as breaking down fragrances and, you know, talking about my scent of the day with Rich Mitch and stuff like that. You know, it's just the channel gives me a little broader platform to discuss it. So anyways, I really appreciate you guys watching. Thanks a lot. Let me know what you think. If there's some 2004 fragrances that you think I should go for, that are in your collection, that are not in mine, do let me know. Let me know where you were at in your life in 2004. And cheers, guys. See you again tomorrow with another video. Bye. Have a good Memorial Day.